Hi everybody. I love this guy. He does cats. And he and he's so funny. This cat the cats will growl at him and go after him. And at the end they just love him. They just love him. I love him. It's so cool. Oh yes. All right. Watching a man shave a cat. Oh my goodness. Cat videos. Welcome everybody. And thank you. Whew, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole today as I looked at the astrology and and the uncovering of a lot of the astrology. So, for those who are just joining me, my name is Mary June Tracy. I'm a psychic medium, spiritual love of life coach. I'm going to come to you with the 411 of the cray cray of the world. And it's crazy out there, baby. And I base my stuff on the astrology. So, let's get into it because there's some crazy shit coming down the chute. And it's not the thing is it's not to be afraid of anything. It is to um it's not about being afraid. It's about being prepared. Now, I grab a coffee, grab a tea. Let's get into this. Okay, I got to get to cuz like I have notes on notes on notes on here. So, this is where I thought at first, is it just me being a Scorpio, right? Is it just me being a Scorpio? Because me being a Scorpio, I can get very into some crazy stuff. I can really dive deep into some weird areas. But it when I looked at things more, it's reading the sky, and I was reading the sky with my gut, and that's been ringing alarms and stirring magic. And this is where the seer in me is really aligning with a lot of the changes and the vibrations that are coming into the world right now. And why why I'm picking up both the glory of what's coming forth and the trouble, the incoming vibes. So we want to look at where Uranus is in Gemini right now. And it's a wild card. It's a disruptor. Gemini is innovation in communication, mental shifts. It's the tech upheaval. It's the information, the battlefield. So there is, where we described about the mystic triangle. And it's a beautiful set. It's a rare moment when tension points, feed directly into harmonious trines and sextiles. This means revelations. This is also where inspired solutions can come in, and it can also bring in some twists and some crazy jolts. And we're starting to see some of those jolts, and I'm going to get into a little bit about what some of those crazy jolts are that are coming into our vibration right now, and we're seeing it. So Mercury and Mars, they're sharp, they're decisive, they're great with debates, they're courageous. Mars and Pluto, it's determined transformation. That will, this is going to help us to get pushing us through the obstacles. And the Pluto, Saturn, and Neptune, it's restructuring the dreams and anchoring intuition into strategy. And that's where it's at. Oh, my grandson awakens and he walks. So we're speaking about visions, anchoring intuition into clear strategy. So this is like a container of energy that's coming in. And there's a lot of emotional toxins that are in with this. Now, why the trouble energy is real? Well, the moon in Aries right now, and it opposes Mars in Libra. And it's having just crossed over Saturn and Neptune, and the tension, this is between my way and the greater good, right? This is a configuration of the classic revolutionary triggers. This is where they often correlate with political uprising, protests, and public outcry. So we have fire, disasters, global unrest. Right now, it's amplifying the urgency. Uranus in Gemini, it's stirring things up. information revolution as much as a physical one. 3, 4 countries. So I got 3 countries that, well, 4, the United States will come into this, but Canada, UK, and Australia, they are on this Gemini Sagittarius axis. And these countries in the astro mundane work. So Uranus shaking up Gemini is going to really hit them. And it's going to hit them in a crazy way. Now, the weird zone and the coin flip that's coming in is a metaphor. So this is on point. We're flipping from a dirty side of an era to a security, security, control, manipulation, into a fresh side of innovation and revolution. But here's the kicker: before the shine stays, the grit has to fall off. So this is grit of thousands and thousands of years. It's a weird zone. It's disorientation. This is exposure of deeper corruption, bizarre events that feel scripted. And this weird window is short, but it's intense. So this is why we choose to put into our emotional container this week what matters so much. And it's what will seed the next cycle. So this is really seeding in what's in next. Now, my Scorpio radar, it's like I'm not being paranoid. My watery intuition that's coming in is seeing this dual current that's happening. So there's the top layer, which is magical, um, cooperative. It's a genius energy, the mystical triangle, the Venus Jupiter. It's the blessings. The underlayer is the old structures, cracking, collective unrest, brewing, power plays, making desperate moves before the shift locks in. And here it is with the practical moves for today. So the practical moves for today is we got to build your container. Choose 3 things to focus on with your emotional investments over the next 6 months, making them nourishing. Guard against the Lilith Pluto shadow. This week, don't let the personal grievances poison collective projects or alliances. Anchor the Uranus Gemini. Uranus is a genius. He really is. This is journal. This is voice record, the big ideas that come in and that you feel like are channeling. They'll be relative after the weird zone. Connect and collaborate. Uranus in Gemini wants network. It wants magic. And it wants networking magic. That's what it wants. And not being a lone wolf and thinking that you can go out there and do it all on your own. So this is where this mystic triangle that's coming in is really bringing in a deepening, right? This is energy points that begins within days, and this week shifts into Uranus, Saturn, exact sextiles and moon triggers. Peak distortions over the next 3 weeks where reality feels up for grab, okay? August ends into the September eclipse, and we can't get lost in the fog. Stabilization by late October, we'll see the dust start to settle, but this will lead directly into a second wave, early 2026. And that's where you get the Saturn, Neptune, both hit 0 degrees again in Aries, and that's February 20th. The full release of the weird zone energy will be in mid 2026 after the Saturn Neptune conjunction. Okay. So when the new societal structures begin locking in other words, phase 1, we're in phase 1 right now, which is from now to late October 2025. And that's going to be chaotic exposure and destabilization. Phase 2, early mid 2026, is going to come into permanent restructuring. So between now and then, we are going through this restructuring. We are going through where things are going to be destabilized and it's going to be shaking us up. Now, it's not the first time this has happened. We've gone through this before. We've done things like this before. But this is where we really have to get our shit together, right? So things that okay, these are some of the nature of the destructions that we're going to hit. Now this isn't just things to feel off. This is information earthquakes. So Uranus and Gemini will break narratives apart, leak hidden data, um, spark unexpected alliances in media, tech, and politics. We got a big meeting coming up on Friday. That's going to be an interesting one. Will it take? Will it not take? Will they come together? Will they resolve something or not? Or is this just a photo op? Economic whiplash, Saturn Uranus contact often disrupts supply chains. So, currency values, government budgets. Canada doesn't have a budget. Let's see what happens in the fall, right? Expect abrupt reversals, both market highs and sudden drops. So the market's going to go through some ups and downs and craziness and so if you are in it for the long term, then you stay in it for the long term. Don't try and um if you're wanting to make unless you're very very apt on the on the market, then yeah, then I would say you could go in and buy, buy low, sell high kind of thing. Geopolitical fractures. Countries tied to the Germany, Gemini, Saturn nodes is Canada, UK, Australia, and parts of the US. And they may see refusal to comply with governmental pushes. Think strikes, protests, and mass walkouts. So that's going to be extremely interesting. And we're starting to see a lot of that now. We're starting to see people saying, no, we're not doing this bullshit. So that's going to be a big one that's going to be happening. Environmental cascades. With Saturn and Neptune tied in, this is water related crisis. Floods, hurricanes, contamination, plus more fires. Because Uranus equals sudden ignition and Neptune widespread. So also look at things to do with oil and gas. So disruptions when it comes to oil and gas and either drilling or disruptions in drilling or something along that line. Now it's interesting that two people are meeting in Alaska coming up this Friday. Alaska has a lot of oil and there's a lot of oil and gas, in and around that area. So this is going to be primarily interesting in how this is going to take off. I can't do any you know what? This curl in front, I got the curl coming back. There's not much I could do with this curl. It just does what it does. I could have it I yeah, I could probably just tie it back. That's what I could do and just have a little put a little bow there. Um do something with it, Mary. But here it is. So these are the things that we need to start looking out for. These are the disruptions that are going to be coming down the chute for us all. Now, the other thing is the spiritual root awakening. This is, I'm going to call it the psychic whiplash, right? For the collective. Beliefs that felt solid are suddenly questioned. The false teachers, the leaders exposed. We're going to have a lot of exposure on a lot of leaders. We have the Candace Owen thing happening with the Macron's wife, male or female. I personally don't give a shit. The only thing I didn't like is that um, the person was going after a 14-year-old boy, and they were like in their 30s or something. So that to me is just that's a no-go. That's just disgusting. And yeah, Either way you look at it, male, female, or whatever, that's just wrong. But anyways, we're going to find out more exposures on that. Exposures on alternative motives when it comes to our own government and what they are. So those are some of the things, so false teachers, leaders are going to be exposed. Many of them are going to start coming out. The energetic and spiritual meaning. So this coin flip you've been talking, that I've been just, talking about is an energetic reset point. The dirty side of the coin is centuries of hidden deals, control structures, and manipulation. The shiny side, the transparency, the grassroots innovation, the radical collaborations. If we plant the seeds now, if you're planting the seeds on something that is innovative, and I'm going to get into some of the areas that are going to be very innovative for you to be starting to look at. The weird zone is the flipping motion, and it's messy. So we're going to be going and I've told people this before, by the middle of August to the end of the year, this is going to be disruptive. This is going to be crazy. We're going to be on some crazy, shaky ground. And this is going to we have to get messy before we get clear. This is where when we look at the goddess, I know Kali just came in, the goddess Kali energy coming in. I mean, she's disruptive, she's chaotic, right? This is what, when we look at the gods of destruction, they bring in this great destruction, but through the destruction and through that all, then we look at, okay, this is what we need to redo. We have to restructure, we have to remantle, we have to come together in new ways. This is what this is bringing in. Now, the weird thing, and this is where I'm going to call in the weird zone that's going to be coming forth, is from the fall of 25 to the spring of 26 window is volatile. This is where I call it the war energy. It starts, and it's going to start this fall. This is where the eclipses in Aries and Libra, this is or the eclipses in Pisces and Saturn, Pisces and Virgo are really going to start to bring in a lot of disruptions. And diplomacy, control. You got to listen to my word, Virgo. And does it meet to my spiritual needs? Does it meet to my spiritual values and morals? Pisces, right? So there's going to be a tug of war with that. Territorial disputes, military escalations. And, this is going to be very, I'm going to say, historical coincidence, with the military escalations. We're also going to have, with the Mars in cardinal sign in late 2025, repeatedly hits explosive points with Uranus and Pluto. So it's a power cake of astrology, the tension building. Now, the Saturn sextile Uranus exact, this is now until early fall, and gives a planning phase, governments and military structures positioning for something major. Now, as a climax, for next spring, from February to March 2026, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction historically aligns with major global resets in power, faith, and structure. Aries at 0 is literally an ignition point. It's the beginning. And when Saturn and Neptune meet here, it's an end of an era and the start of something new. Often through a crisis. Now, Mars in the late Pisces into Aries at this time, Mars in Aries conjunct Saturn, Neptune in early 2026. It's a volatile. This is a perfect storm for sudden military escalations, including unprecedented weapons or tactics. Now, Pluto in Aquarius, the technology of driven warfare, mass mobilization, potential use of unconventional or high impact weaponry. The thing is that what I have been seeing with the big boom is a devastating in technology or cyber attacks that feels instant and global, massive infrastructure strikes, power grids, communication networks, an event that causes spread fear, sudden destructions, and before and after shifts. The symbolic boom or the geopolitical energy that comes in is a move that changes the entire playing field overnight. Things start to move in a new direction. Now, even the benefit alignment we're seeing now, those blessing our containers for what we will need in that time. What's coming this fall through the spring will shatter illusions, force collective choices, test faith in the deepest way, and bring people together in small, powerful, and surprising alliances. This is where two parts are going to be coming in. The war starts this fall, outlining signs, triggers, and how to prepare spiritually and practically, and the climax in the spring of next year, and what the moments mean and what's on the other side. So, this is bringing in some huge activations and changes that are going to be coming in. And there are key points of when certain things are going to come in. So, we have September 7th, and around September 7th, which is the Pisces eclipse, dissolving illusions, blurred truth, release long held emotional energies into the collective. This one is tightly tied to Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, meaning hidden agendas and foggy messagings will be used to justify action. Pisces eclipse often coincides with the cover of overnight maneuvers, military operations, secret details, or events that are revealed much later to have been a turning event. Then we have September 21st, which is the new moon eclipse. It's the second new moon in Virgo. The second one is an eclipse at 29 degrees, which is the anaretic degrees, the end of the line. Virgo's eclipse shift, focus, health, safety, and order, narratives. This is a perfect entry point for lockdown style restrictions. Framed as a necessary public welfare, whether under a climate emergency or security threats. And with Uranus in Gemini, these messages will be hyper amplified across media with tech companies and locking in censorship or control. Mars moves into Libra, opposite Chiron, North Node in Aries, alliance treaties tested to the breaking point. Uranus Saturn planning phase ends, moves. This is getting into things happening. The eclipses shake the Pisces Virgo truth versus control narrative. Now, things that I see that are coming in are military positions become public, large troop movements, drills, and exercises suddenly in the news. Information warfare escalates, leaks, whistleblowers, competing truths. Climax, emergency rhetoric. Canada, UK, and parts of the United States are ones that I feel are like number one with a lot of this happening and trying to get the control. And that's because these countries have been so-called freedom points in the world. And when it comes to um, possible lockdowns, they're going to be like a climate lockdown, like they're doing in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Now, they're talking about, wanting to take over areas because of mining, because uranium. Well, there you go. You got Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, Plutonian energy coming in with Uranus, which is Uranian energy. Very explosive energy. Uranus, the last time it was in Gemini, was the discovery of the atomic bomb. So there's a narrative that any dissent equals endangering humanity, right? So we have these changes that are activating and that are changing right now. And the part two of this, which is from February to March, the Saturn Neptune conjunction, once every 36 years, but this is the first time at the first degree of the zodiac, this ignition energy is happening in what? Some say 6,000 years, others have said 10,000 years. So Saturn equals structure, Neptune, fog or vision, manifesting the dream or imposing the illusion. The war astrology in the prime time for world altering acts that force new order into being. This is where Mars in the final degree of Pisces, covert aggression, crossing into Aries, the strike. This is the moment, for an atomic bomb. Vision's point, whether literal or symbolic. This could be a nuclear or a high impact weaponry, massive cyber infractions, power, internet, satellite. So this is a shock event that changes the global order instantly. So things are going to start changing very quickly. Like this isn't going to be drawn out for another 5-10 years. This is like changes that are going to come in, and full escalation when it comes to the fight. No longer proxy conflicts, but open confrontation between major powers. So the proxies, where we're in a lot of little proxy wars, this is like, okay, gloves are off, here we go. Emergency powers rolled out globally. A lot of emergency powers were not withdrawn since 2020, and possible under, climate and security justifications. This is where rapid move towards central bank digital currency, framed as stability measures. Public fear campaigns, imagery and language, crafted to keep populations compliant. So there is all of this. This is like, I could go into this so much more. And if you want me to, if you want more information from the climate lockdown to the climate change narrative, which is, the Pisces compassion, interconnectedness, but as a manipulation through emotions are coming in. We must act now. Aries mobilization is acting now. Under the Virgo eclipse this fall, the narrative will focus on particularly necessary. We need to restrict movement for the environment. Temporary measures to ensure survival. Only essential travel for X weeks and months. So travel to certain areas may not be able to happen in the fall. Zones may be set up that you can't pass through unless you have a special pass because of whatever they decide to put into power. And with Neptune, with Saturn, the control through illusion. So Uranus in Gemini exposes inconsistencies in narrative. So there will be a heavy media suppression, right? They're going to have more control. I mean, look what's happening over in the UK right now. They're trying to do some subtle things in the United States and in Canada and Australia, definitely too. These measures aren't purely about climate, they are about testing the infrastructure of control. Spiritual navigation. Now to the fall, build your container of trust, community, and practical prep. I've said that for the longest time. Fall eclipses. See through the fog. Don't get caught in emotional hooks. Right? Don't get caught up in, oh, this is happening. Oh, they're doing it's just like, okay, you know what? Right now, Nova Scotia has to fight their war. That's happening. New Brunswick has to fight their war. That's happening. Alberta has to take its stand to what it needs to take the stand. And same with all the other provinces and the different states. They're all having to do that. In New York, they're having an election. If that mayor gets in, it's going to be interesting, right? So this is where people have to say, okay, where, and it's always at the grassroots. This isn't where, all of Canada goes in and, the people fight for the, it's at the grassroots of what needs to happen. The people there have to uprise and say no more. That's what has to happen. We can say whatever we want over here, right? But it's the ones right here who are the ones who have to speak up and say something. to challenge it, to push against the narrative. That's where that, comes in. So, because it's going to be tested, things are going to be tested and pushed. Now, in building our container of trust and community is important, and who we want to bring in and who we want to trust, and how this all works. So, from August and the last days before the weird zone, Uranus Saturn sextile exact. Innovation means restructuring. So ideas, record your ideas, record things that are coming into you. This is the seeding phase. Build your container for what you want to carry through the chaos. Final moments in anchoring positive projects, alliances, spiritual practices before the turbulence starts. I have my fall series, and I just posted it. I have a fall series, September, October, November, and it's $150. And there's a workbook that goes along with it. It's self-directed, but I am still there answering questions, and we're working through different areas of it. So we have that's happening. From September 2025 to the fall eclipse. So there's a full moon eclipse. That's the illusion, spiritual awakening, mass confusion, which happens around the first week of September, to the new moon, which is the 21st, the end of the line, degree, health, safety, control, narrative, dominant. So military positioning, by the end of September, we're going to be starting to see military positioning becoming visible, covert strategies start surfacing, possibly early pushes towards restriction, framed as the greater good. This could be restrictions in many different areas. We got to restrict food because of, the climate change, and there's not enough here, so we can only limit so much here and there into different areas. Just saying. October 2025, this is where eclipses fall out in control trials. So heightened public unrest, protests, strikes, alliances, structuring, climate lockdown. This is where trial runs as targeted regions, sold as temporary environmental necessary and moral duty. Information, war intensity, censorship, AI, curated news, competing truths overwhelming the public. So a lot of information starting to come out. That's why you really have to anchor yourself in your spiritual values and your morals. This is where you're planting your seed. This is where you're creating your container, right? Because there's a lot of bombardment that's going to be coming in on everybody. And from November to December, it's the rising tension and economic whiplash. Supply chain disruption, currency instability, manipulation, markets highs and lows, hidden war preparations deepen with diplomatic channels and stalls. So this is where, there are things that are going to be going on that we will not be privy to. There is going to be things that are hidden behind the scene that we are not privy to. Things that come out that they want us to know about, definitely, but those are going to be things that are going to get people enraged, going crazy, upset, etc. So propaganda becomes more direct and emotionally charged. Mars and Pisces, behind the scene military and political actions, that's January. Global diplomacy falters, alliances quietly dissolve or realign. So ones that you think are aligned may not be aligned. The ones that you think are not aligned may be aligned. So we have that. And then by March, Saturn, Neptune, ignition point for a new era. This is where things, where nuclear, unconventional weapons, symbolic massive cyber attacks, etc., energy, emergency power rollouts worldwide, not just in one area, worldwide. And this is a new order begins to take shape. The aftermath from April to May is emergency measures remain in place under combined security and climate justifications. Economic systems, Rapidly transition towards central bank currency and tighter transactional control. We're going to be seeing that by spring of next year. Social norms shift as people adapt to new realities. By the mid 2026, so going from June, shiny side of the coin, Saturn Neptune influences begins to stabilize. Those who prepared during the weird zones, this is where you start to prepare for this craziness. Spiritual spiritual communities, decentralized networks. This is where society emerges. This is where society emerges from grassroots movements rather than top-down control. But that's not happening until next year by June, right? So that's not happening. So there is a lot of turning the key. There's a lot of, the final breath before the storm, the veil and the blade, to the trial of the lock and the key in October. So there's a lot that's coming in until the mid of next year, right? So we got to pause. We got to get clarity.
Want more coffee? Where's your cup?
Right here, baby. So we got to pause. We have to come into these crazy energies of alignment. Now, some of the things that, and I wrote them down. I just have to find where I wrote them down. So some of the things for the economy, these are the things that I'm putting out there. From now to early fall, this is the economy overhaul. This is a shiny coin, right? Oh, Charlene says she wants one too. Okay. He says, no worries. What do you take? There's still room for innovation. Small business wins. This is where small businesses, you're going to find a lot of people moving away from the big box to small businesses. So, because that's a place of trust. So this is a creative pivots. Uranus in Gemini, Saturn in Aries is already building a structural volatility. Markets may look steady on the surface, but they're very fragile. By the fall, this is the Pisces and Virgo eclipses. This is where you're going to find regulations, taxes, or trade. So there's going to be some adjustments that are going on in there. You're going to find a big up thing in the black market. I sort of smile when I say that. I don't, not that I'm in the black market, but I'm just, anyways, move on, Mary. So governments could reframe economic shifts as climate responses or security measures. There is a reason why our prime minister did not do a budget. There is a reason. Let me repeat that. There's a reason, because of what's coming down this fall. Right? So if he did a budget when he got in, right? Then the thing is that when he wouldn't have as much control as if he would do it in this fall, if that makes sense. Okay. Saturn, Neptune, 0 degrees, spring of next year, and this is where it could trigger more of a crisis, right? So economic rules and priorities will be rewritten, and I said centralized bank digital currency or stricter financial tracking are going to come in. Now that is already hit in places like Portugal and Spain and other places where you cannot take out more than, I think, 1,000 euros. I think it's gone down. I think it's down to 500 euros. You can't have more than 500 euros on your person. Now, this isn't anything new in the world. I mean, I remember, and I think it might still be true, that even in Trinidad, you weren't allowed to take so much money out of the country because it could collapse the economy, right? So this is where they're saying that they're not allowing you to have, like, so if you go in your bank and you want to take out $2,000 per se, and it may be like, well, $2,000 isn't a lot of money. Well, they want to know what you're doing with it. Yeah, you can argue with them. Yeah, you can say, this is my money, blah, 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 blah. Whatever your argument is, they don't care. Okay? So if you want to have money now, take out $50 here, take out $10 here, take out $5 here. Do little increments. When you're going to Safeway, take out a couple. Oh, yeah. Do you want any extra cash? Yeah, I want an extra 20. Just saying. All right. So you still have time. So the thing is, when it comes to retail right now, with Venus and Jupiter, blessings still play. So consumers are splurging. People are splurging. Feel good purchases, niche markets doing well. So if you have a little niche market, this is going to do extremely well. This is where post eclipses. So this is after the eclipses, people become more selective, only spending on essentials and emotional comfort ideas. Think food, home nesting, stress relief items. Supply chain shocks this winter could make goods scarce, driving up prices. So if you're able to buy a 50-pound bag of carrots right now, buy a 50-pound bag of carrots and keep it in your cold storage. Same with potatoes. I remember this is the time of year that my parents would buy. If my mom couldn't grow enough potatoes, we were grabbing potatoes from local Hutterites in the area, because we lived in Edmonton. And so this is like, okay, maybe stock up on the basic root vegetables. Doing little stock ups. If you're a single person, then every time you go to the grocery store, buy an extra can of goods. Like, a lot of us are on a budget, but if you only, and I've said this before, if you, let's say chickpeas, all right? So you buy 2 cans of chickpeas, buy a third can, put the third up, right? So you're going to go buy flour. So maybe you buy a big package of flour, buy a little package of flour, put it up. Those little things, I mean, they're little tiny increments, but those could save you, where all of a sudden you run out of flour, you don't have enough money, but you got enough in your fridge and stuff to make pancakes, whatever it is. So this is little things to start looking at. Smaller independent retails may actually, as I said, outpace big box, and that has to do with trust, flexibility, if they can adapt quickly and locally. So if you have a local grocer, like your grocery store, there's one in Bowness, and I think she does quite well. And funny, her name, it's called Mary's Grocery Store. But she brings in different fresh vegetables. She goes to different markets, brings them in. She probably goes to the guy in the Northeast, to the fruit market. So those things are going to do very well. If you have an ethnic area in your place, per se, start going there and shopping for some of your vegetables. You'll find them cheaper. So if you have an East Indian store, if you have, Middle Eastern store, go in there and check out their prices. Go in there and check out some of their stuff. Those guys are going to be the ones that are going to be able to have a first line in getting stuff. It sounds crazy, I know, but it's to get to know your local grocer, get to know your local person, right? Because not all of us have connections to the farm. Not all of us can get out of town and go to the local farmers or farmers market. Okay. So this is just a little FYI, just letting you know. Housing and building. From now to the fall, Uranus is in Gemini, favors innovation building, modular homes, tiny homes, adaptive reuses of building. Amazon is already selling tiny homes. There's a big innovation that came in from China, that you can order these tiny mobile homes. And that has to do with the Zoomers, which is Gen Zs. Gen Zs aren't buying $3 million homes. If they are, then it's usually inherited money that they received, or they hit a big boom, right? But you're not seeing a lot of them buying the homes. And if they are, they've had help in some way in getting those homes. Just an FYI, grandpa and grandma left them some money, whatever. Innovations on them doing it on their own will be a big struggle. right? For them to continue to own those homes, and a huge debt. Because government's going to have incentives on green building, and this is going may increase, but often tied to compliancy with regulations, tracking, energy, um, monitoring. So there's going to be a lot more green housing, but there is going to be control within that green housing. And we're going to see more of that coming in and coming into the fall. So a lot of, and I explained some of these new homes that are coming in and being built. Fall, winter, we have Virgo eclipses, and this is stricter building codes, environmental compliancy standards, material shortages because of tariffs or what have you, are likely either from supply disruptions or deliberate rationing. People are all up in arms about the tariffs and everything else. Like I always say, there's an agenda on top, the agenda on top of the agenda. There's something back there. There's a reason this is happening. If you're getting upset about this face value stuff, it's like, don't. It's not worth it. It really isn't. Because it's all unfolding. This is where you got to come back into your own spiritual self, your grounding, and saying, this is what I'm working on right now. This is what I need to do to bring myself into a financial place, right? And that could be a part-time job. That could be where right now I got a job at a pop-up store, and working at that for however long. I think it's till February at the store. So allowing myself to be open to that, right? And open to the innovations, and giving me that space, that buffer for me to create the workshops, to create the workbooks, to create all of this for you all, right? So this is where this is what this is doing. And also starting um, my own little, not mine, but Cynthia and my Etsy shop. Like, she's opened the Etsy shop. We started the YouTube station. So this is opening up because secondhand is going to be huge. Just an FYI, I shouldn't have said, everybody open up a secondhand shop. But the things that are going to be where opportunity is, home garden supplies is another one. If you can get a line into home garden supplies, or if you know somebody who can make planter boxes, if you're able to do video series on how to plant a garden, how to start a garden, how to create hydroponics and all of that. If you're able to do those types of things, absolutely fabulous. This is going to be meeting the comfort, adaptability, and resilience. DIY repairs. If you are good at DIY repairs, if you can repair a lawnmower, if you can repair a leaky tap, if you can repair whatever it is, right? If you're able to do that, those things are going to be coming in handy. Secondhand goods, being able to resource and resell secondhand goods. Small batch and local food. If you can start and look at, okay, for next fall or next spring, this is what I'm going to be planting. Or even looking at what I can seed now throughout the winter. Some people do lettuce and things like that, and herbs. If you're able to do that, absolutely fabulous. Those are great things. A lot of herbs and stuff you can start inside and grow inside your home. So you can do that. Housing affordability. Modular or off-grid capable builds will have a strong demand. Now, with that, of course, there is things that are going to go on with that would have to do with the infrastructure and what the infrastructure looks like. Because you have to have running water, sewer, what kind of electricity you're going to have. Are you going to be totally solar? Some places, depending on where you are, if you're in Canada, sometimes you can't be totally solar. It just doesn't work. Our coffee's really good, just an FYI. So these are some of the things to actually look at. And the economy as a whole, the winners will be the ones who pivot fast, keep overhead low, think community first. And Uranus and Gemini rewards agility and collaboration. That's where it's going to be at. We're going to be in, the weird zone until mid 2026. So this is where it's time to start and time to get going on this stuff. It's time to really look at how you are going to create what you want to create. Now, for me, it's like, am I going to move from my spot? No, I'm not. The rent is good. We're in an awesome location. Do I like living in a basement suite? No, I don't like living in a basement suite. But it is what it is. I got a pretty good landlord. We're, situated in a really nice area. I can't really complain about it. Oh, okay. With everything. So this is, looking at where you are and utilizing, okay, if I'm in this area, this is okay, this is where God wants me to be right now. And I'm going to be very blessed to be where I am right now. So the other place too is um Uranus in Gemini is shaking up nations with strong Gemini Sagittarius placements. And as I said, that's Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and parts of the United States. So Canada, Gemini's in rising in the mundane chart, so strongly tied to the US communications and trade network. We can't get away from that. UK, Sag, rising, colonial, global, trade, history, activated. Okay. Australia, New Zealand linked through the Commonwealth ties, heavy resilience and reliance on shipping and trade routes. And they're very close to China, so they are going to be needing that. United States with Uranus in Gemini will actually opposite its natal Uranus in Sagittarius, 1776 chart. Historically, a time of internal division, a new political movement. That's going to happen. The Pisces Virgo, Pisces eclipse, dissolution, confusion, mass emotional surgence, Virgo, eclipses, control systems, health, safety, and the narrative. So some of the countries with heavy mutable placements like Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius will see policy whiplash and trust crisis. Italy and Greece, multiple heavy charts, financial and migration pressure points are going to happen. Japan, Virgo heavy placements, economic and constitution, the constitutional astrology, supply chain vulnerability, and especially where its placement is within to China. South Korea, mutable placement hit in a key trade and defense sectors. Other places where the war and reset axis, we have Eastern Europe, which is Ukraine, Russia, Poland, Baltic states, all have charts tied to cardinal points. Military escalation risk is highest there. Okay. Middle East, Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, historically volatile under Aries ignition point. China, Aries point hits the chart to its modern government from 1949, especially military and leadership housing. So we could see a huge change or shift within China. So the developing nations heavily dependent on imports, food, supply chains. Many African nations, parts of Southeast Asia, tourism dependent economies. Places like the Caribbean, Mediterranean islands, Bali, climate lockdown or travel restrictions could cripple them. And that's because, oh, they're too hot, they're too this, whatever the reason, too many planes flying in the air, heavy, extra heavy manufacturing nations, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Malaysia, disruptions in trade flows and currency volatility. So if a lot of countries have, even switched over to those countries, which I know quite a few have switched over to Vietnam, they're going to have some issues there. And plus, a lot of those countries are communist countries, and they're tied to China as well. Where the coin can flip to a shiny side is Iceland. Energy, self-sufficient, resilient governance. Switzerland, strong local economic and neutral positioning. kind of. Nordic countries, localized infrastructure, social trust, though not immune to digital and trade shocks. So we have these energies that are high disruption, modern disruption, and opportunity zones that are going on. And they're all, these are all things that are tied together. The moderate ones, even have France, Germany, Brazil, and Mexico. Those are moderate disruptions. The higher disruptions are the Canada, United States, United Kingdom, and Ukraine are some of the higher ones that are going to have a high disruption um, there as well. So, whew, so much that's coming in. A lot has, a lot of this energy that's coming in and that's changing is bringing in, as I say, disruption. But there is some positive silver linings to all of this. It's just how you deal with it and how you position yourself with the new alignments that are coming in and knowing how to work with it, like knowing how to work with these alignments and not going out and disrupting them. There's going to be chaos. There's going to be a lot of people in different areas that are saying no more. We're not having this. We're not doing this no more. We're not allowing this immigration to come into our country anymore. There's going to be those types of disruption because people are done. And in that, you're going to find new innovative ways of creating the abundance in your life and opening your arms to it. So, whew, a lot there, a lot to uncover. Almost under an hour. But if you are wanting to go into this in more detail and you want me to do a evening class where we can gather and you guys can ask questions in more of a private setting, please let me know. I can put it up and we can do something even, this week if you want to, because I feel the need is necessary. And I, yes, I will put a charge on this if you want, because it is my time as well. So if you want to do this in a private setting and stuff and connection, I'll put it up at $25 if people want to do this and get into this in more detail and get the notes and stuff from this all. So there you go. I'm probably, I'm not even monetized, so it doesn't matter. But like and subscribe and comment and share this out. Let people know. I think preparedness is the best thing for us all as we move forward in this new world that is going to shape into something new. That some people just poo-poo it. Fine, you can poo-poo it, but that's fine. You poo-pooed my predictions when it came to 2019 and 2020 and 2021 too. So you can poo-poo this if you want to as well. That's freedom of choice, right, baby? Freedom of choice. So may the Lord and Lady watch over and bless you, keep you well. Make sure you are doing your due diligence, aligned to your divine Lord and Lady, and don't let anybody tarnish your shine. All right. Have a blessed one. We'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.